what happens when you put 27,000 hackers in a city like Las Vegas? A whole bunch of crazy stuff, such as like this little posters outside, and somebody was going around and putting googly eyes on a whole bunch of photos. So pretty much a harmless prank, right? But no, last week we had something called DEF CON in its 26th year, a convention in Vegas going down. I got back about 3 in the morning on Sunday, and I'm well rested now to tell you a little bit about it. Definitely the highlight of this year was called the Social Engineering Village. So we have contestants, and they go into this soundproof sound booth with a telephone, and they call a company. And I got to sit and watch as a woman named Whitney called the company, and the lady answered, "Hi, my name's Jackie." "Oh, that's my name. My name is Jackie too." "Oh, cool." And went on and on. And Whitney, fake Jackie, got this person to divulge information such as what brand of computer she had. She was able to get her to open up a web browser and type in a link, find out if she accesses her building using a physical key or a key fob, her default courier, yada, 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 yada. That this woman was just easily spewing out and giving up. She proceeded to her second call, got a gentleman, and he said his name was Patrick or something. She's like, "Oh, my husband's name is Patrick." He's like, "Oh, okay." And she got him to start spitting out the brand of computer, antivirus software that they use, got him to type in a web address and go to it and so forth. So kind of how this game is played is Whitney had 20 minutes to call numbers at a company, and all those questions that she asked, she scored points. And the goal is to get the most amount of points you can in 20 minutes. And this is put on by socialengineering.org. And we're inundated with all of these phishing emails every single day wanting us to get and click on stuff. But people could call you over the phone as well. And people are just giving up this information. Whitney actually was able to watch her. She was actually the winner of this year. They only pick about 14 people. And she was the one who scored the most points. But it just insane to watch of what people will give up and what we need to keep our guard up for. They're going to publish a report of that. But if we take a look at last year, something really interesting went down. So we take a look. They pick an industry. This year was travel. I'm not sure what last year was. And then they pick 14 companies in there that they're going to target. And afterwards, these companies do not know anything at all that this is going on. They're not at all. But afterwards, the social engineering org team goes and tells the companies what went down. And actually, about two-thirds of them respond very well and be like, "Oh, can you help us fix that?" And the remaining ones don't care, or they're too arrogant, or whatever. Their loss. But taking a look last year, the horrible company was Mattel. They had a lot of points scored against them and gave up a lot of stuff. One really interesting one that I want to tell you about is Disney on here, and they were pretty good. However, they did something very, very, very bad. So there's a gentleman by the name of Kevin Mitnick, and he is, I would say, probably one of the top 10 hackers in the world. He was chased by government and actually imprisoned by the FBI for a little while. Started back in the 80s with phone hacking. He's now on the good side of things and has actually helped places like he cracked a double security perimeter bank in 2 days. Physically walked in the server room and had admin access on their network. He has a 100% success rate, helping companies get more secure. But anyways, he popped in the room and people started heckling him a little bit like, "Hey, you got to get up there. Hey, you got to get up there." So after a while he did. He got on the phone and he called Disney. He faked that he was working for Disney and he was out on the road, got to his hotel, and either forgot his credit card or it wasn't working or something, and got Disney, so a rep at Disney, to divulge an entire 16-digit credit card number, expiration date, and the VCC. His trick there was getting somebody, and when they forwarded the call internally, it no longer showed his outside cell number. It actually showed that it was an internal transfer, and they probably let their guard down a little bit. But that one was, people were just floored of what happened there last year. And really, this is just simply an awakening of really what can happen, and to just not let the guard down and give out information no matter who says what they are. So that was super cool. Another thing that goes on there is when you are around hackers, where's my photo? Here we go. We all carry smartphones, right? And smartphones have cell service, they have Wi-Fi, they have Bluetooth, and so forth. Well, if we have those and our phones aren't patched, around 27,000 hackers, you have a good chance to be hacked. So the biggest recommendation of being at this conference, it was at Caesars this year in Vegas, is to go dark. Shut your phone off. Don't even take your phone. Power your phone completely down. And that's really hard to do in today's world. So they have this thing called the Wall of Sheep, and this is in the Packet Hacking Village. And all these people at these tables, I think I got some other pictures. Yeah, you can see how big the room is. They actually have labs they're running, but if anybody in the conference is hacked, you could put up on the Wall of Sheep. I think I even have a better picture of it. Yeah, here we go. And they actually made a policy, they stopped showing people's passwords. So if you're dumb enough to use your wireless or Bluetooth there, and then you make a connection to a server that isn't secure, such as these protocols here, here's your username, here's your password, such as this guy, KG at Kent Gladstone, so I'm probably thinking it's Kent himself. Password Jen something, maybe his wife, is connecting via email, that's called IMAP on port 143 to here. Could just easily be hacked like that. I mean, that's how many people, even at a conference like this, are walking around and being that vulnerable. So this is something that they do for awareness and kind of poke fun at people there. So we go dark with our phones or use airplane mode, which shuts off all of your radios. Super cool over in the car village. They actually stripped out, this is actually a 2012 Ford Focus, and they figured out that the computers in here run a piece of software called CAM, and on this little connector right here, they're simulating a connection to it and have two laptops where you can play around with it. And one of the labs you can do is once you gain access to the vehicle, right here is a door lock actuator. So you can type a command and boom, boom, just pop, unlock the car. If we take a look at our vehicles now, we have, where's mine here? We got key fobs, and these all started off like, oh, this is awesome, I can remote unlock my car, sweet, cool. Well, then we kind of started like, oh, I can open my trunk, and I can sound the alarm, and I can remote start the car. And now we have, our cars that have 3G or 4G hotspots, and we have apps, and we can remote start our car through the app, maybe find out where we parked it. So all these just open different attack surfaces for hackers, as well as cars are just being more computerized than ever. So they just showed here on a level of how to get into that. That was really cool. We had another one called the IoT Village, and those have taken a lot of flack lately. So these are all your cameras at home, your Nest thermostats, refrigerators, washers, dryers, all these little gadgets. Maybe they're $200-300 or definitely less. Cameras and so forth that you hook up, and they're meant to make our life simple, automate things, powered by an app. Super cool. Well, they're also not made really well from a stance of security, such as a little while ago, maybe a year and a half, a company or some hackers were hiding stuff inside a whole bunch of these all over the world, and they were programmed at a certain date and time to go after Netflix, and they just generated them with so much traffic, like, hey, Netflix, are you there? And it had to respond. Think of like a receptionist all of a sudden getting 100,000 phone calls, and they're used to getting 4. They're not going to be able to handle it, and all of a sudden you can't get through. So they actually took out Netflix for 30 minutes to 2 hours, I think it was, by using this IoT device attack. So the gentleman that was presenting that one showed us how easy it is to use a website. This one's called Shodan. There's another one called census.io, I think it is. And you can actually find these things, go out and find out all these internet or IoT devices that are exposed to the world, are known what their IP address is and so forth. All these devices use a very common 10 passwords, admin, admin, admin password, and so on and so forth. You can simply try hacking them that way. It can be really easy, which is just stupid. Or there's known exploits that they're not patched and so forth. So he gave an example of, hey, we got onto a camera. Cool. All right, well, big, wow, you can see what I'm doing. Awesome. Well, let's take a second and think. When you first set up that camera, you set it up and be like, oh yeah, it supports Wi-Fi. This is great, super convenient. So hook onto my network. Awesome. Well, when I take pictures, I need to do something with them. So how about you just like save them to my pictures folder on my computer? Cool. Well, what does that camera need to do it? Well, it needs to be able to browse the network and actually log into your computer. So using that, he actually showed us how you can connect to the camera through the internet, could then browse the network, find that computer, go right into that pictures folder where those pictures are being stored, and pull up pictures of vacations and anything else that was in there. So even though these things do make our lives really easy, they can be a huge risk. And the biggest thing with them is either changing default passwords or making sure firmware is up to date, or like in this case for a camera, if it's like an old camera, this stuff has been out for a while. Things may only be really supported for 3 or 5 years. And then after that, it's like, well, you know what? We found a problem, but we're not going to fix it anymore. So too bad, so sad. So keeping your hardware current not only will keep your security up to date, but likely lessen your attack footprint as well. So yeah, that was in the IoT village. I shared something earlier in the week. We had a couple things in the voting village. That was huge last year. I was just going to see, here's some tags from DEF CON, but we had an 11-year-old crack into a system and alter the votes. I think that was in a system maybe used in Florida or Georgia very easily. And we also had another one where if you just had simply a ballpoint pen and no other tools, you could pretty much open a voting machine, push this into the lock, pull the hard drive out of it, and reboot it and have complete administrator access to the entire voting machine. So some pretty big things there. That voting machine is actually used in about 18 different states. That's out there as well. The kids actually kind of, when we talk about hacking, we kind of have white hat and black hat. Black hat's usually bad and emphasis on money. White hat is usually kind of like the social engineering. Hey, you're vulnerable, let's fix this. So it's kind of a good way moving forward. Obviously, the more white hat we have, the better the world's going to be. So there's a really cool track this year they first came out with. It was a 3-day event actually for kids, kind of like this one that exposed the voting machine, of teaching them skills and ways to use hacking for a better place. So hackers aren't always a bad thing. It is really good, like what the social engineering village is doing. That is just so huge right now. Especially with stuff that's come out. I don't want to get too political, but Russia's Democratic National Committee, the whole Hillary emails and servers. I mean, if they just send an email and say, hey, I'm from the IT department, we're updating this. Can you just go to this website and type in your username and password? I mean, people do this stuff. And then they wonder why they get hacked and they're plastered over the news. Or City of Atlanta's, I don't know, like $17 million deep now in fixing their systems. Because of lapses, you know, that they had in their network security and so forth that were actually pretty basic. So just shining a light on this, and I think the overall focus is we can easily get really scared of stuff that's out there. This annual convention really highlights some things, but the biggest key is just to bring awareness. Don't just take things for granted, be like, hey, I have this, you know, cool app and so forth. But common sense, change the passwords. We need technology to keep us productive. We can do things that we've never done before. But we also need to always have that level of security. If someone's calling the phone and like jabbing you for all this information, throw up that red flag. Something's not right. Maybe run it past a peer, run it past your boss, something like that, to keep you secure. Don't walk around connecting to open networks and then logging onto things, even through banking. Do not do that. There's just really basic things. And if you have any more questions about those, I'm happy to answer those at any time, or even give you some more in-depth stuff on DEF CON if one of those ignites something or kicks a light bulb or any questions off in your head. So that's just a quick recap. A lot went down 3-4 days. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for your time. Again, stay productive, but also be secure out there.